Good day, everyone. This presentation is all about issues and challenges in gender development. So, the issues and challenges in gender development. So, gender development or the GOD focuses on achieving gender equality by examining how social structures, policies, and cultural norms affect the life of women, men, and gender diverse people. Despite progress globally, several issues and challenges continue to determine gender equality, including gender based violence, gender discrimination, wage gaps, and limited access to resources and decision making rules. So, gender based violence and discrimination. So, when we say gender based violence and gender discrimination, are harmful behaviors or unequal treatment directed to someone because of their gender or perceived gender. They often stem from social norms, unequal power relations, and stereotypes that place different values or expectations on men, women, and people of diverse gender identities. So, in our society nowadays, these norms and stereotypes create conditions where one gender, or often women and gender diverse people, of what we call the LGBTQ members has less power or fewer rights compared sa iba. This imbalance can lead to various forms of violence, just like, for example, the physical, emotional, and also for sexual and for the discrimination, like unequal opportunities, especially so work, unfair treatment, restricted freedom. So the gender-based violence and gender discrimination are therefore not just individual acts, but symptoms of broader social inequalities. Next, what is gender-based violence? So it is a violence refers to any act of physical, sexual, psychological, or economic harm done to a person because of their gender. So for example, a woman is physically hurt by her partner because he believes he has control over her. Another example is a transgender woman who is beaten or attacked because others do not accept her gender identity. Types of gender-based violence. So, gender-based violence includes physical abuse, sexual harassment, rape, emotional abuse, and economic control. Examples include domestic or intimate partner violence. So a woman is repeatedly received threats, verbal insults, and controlling behavior from her husband, such as being prohibited from leaving the house, managing her own money, or speaking to friends and family. Over time, he also physically assaults her during arguments. Next is the sexual harassment or assault. Example of this is a coworker repeatedly makes sexual comments about someone's body even after being told to stop, just like what I saw sa news maybe a few weeks ago that Eunice Castro, one of the city councilors of Manila, experienced sexual harassment from her coworker. Another one is the forced marriage or female genital mutilation, or forcing someone to marry without her free or full consent. For example, naman sa genital mutilation, for cutting or removing parts of a girl's external or genitalia for cultural or non-medical reasons. Next is controlling behaviors such as restricting partners, movements, finances, and communication. So a man stops his wife from working or taking her own money using economic control as a form of violence. Next, what is gender discrimination? So, gender discrimination happens when a person is treated unfairly or denied opportunities because of their gender. Gender discrimination happens when someone is treated unfairly or denied opportunities because of their gender. So examples included first, unequal pay for the same work. For example, the two employees, a man and a woman, both work as a software engineer in same company, have the same level of experience and perform the same task and receive similar performance reviews. Despite this, the woman is saved or is paid 20% less than her male counterpart solely because of her gender. Next, hiring or promotion bias. A qualified female employee applies for a managerial position at her company, despite having better performance reviews and more relevant experience than her male colleagues. The promotion is given to a less experienced male candidate because the decision makers believe men are better leaders. Next is denying girls or women access to education. So in some communities, families prioritize sending boys to school, while girls are kept at home to do household chores or take or just taking care for their younger siblings, preventing them from completing their education. And the last one is judging or punishing people for not fitting traditional gender rules. So, for example, if this one is a boy who enjoys dancing and wearing colorful clothes, is teased at school and told he is acting like a girl, while his parents pressure him to play sports instead. Another example of this is a woman who chooses not to marry or to have a children is also criticized by her family and also the community members for not fulfilling her role as a mother. So why they all happen? So gender-based violence and discrimination occur for several interconnected reasons. First, unequal power dynamics. So the societies often give one gender, usually men, more power and authority. Next, cultural and social norms. So long-standing beliefs about how men, women, or gender diverse people should behave can justify harmful actions. For example of this one is a culture believes men should be dominant. Some may excuse violence against a woman as a discipline. Another example, if a society believes women should always obey men, people might accept controlling or abuse behavior as a normal. So, in short, harmful cultural and social expectations can make gender based violence seems normal or acceptable. Next is the lack of legal protection. So, weak or poorly enforced law can allow violence and discrimination to continue. Next is the economic dependence. So when people rely on others financially, it can increase the risk or of abuse or limit their ability to leave harmful situations. And the last one is the stigma against gender diversity. So prejudice towards transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people creates environments where discrimination and violence are common. So it means that negative attitudes or prejudice toward people who are transgender, non-binary, or who don't follow traditional gender expectations can lead to unfair treatment and make them more likely to experience discrimination and violence. So, in other words, when society views gender diverse people as wrong or abnormal or less valid, it becomes easier for others to mistreat them, include them, or exclude them, or justify harming them. So the sentence is saying that the stigma or the prejudice create unsafe environments for the diverse gender people where violence and discrimination become more common. So, how they affect people. Gender based violence and discrimination have wide ranging effects, including the physical harm and long term problems. Next, emotional and psychological trauma such as anxiety, depression, or the PTSD or the post traumatic stress disorder. Next, reduce access to education and jobs, limiting economic independence. Social isolation from being controlled, judged, or excluded. intergenera- intergenerational impact affecting families and communities for years and barriers to full participation in society, especially for women and gender diverse people. So another issues and challenges in gender and development is the wage gap. So wage gap refers to the difference in earning between groups often along gender, racial, or other demographic lines. So for example, women or marginalized groups often lack of access to resources, rights, and opportunities that are unavailable for the dominant or mainstream groups may earn less than their counterparts for the same work. For example, two employees, one is a Filipino and the other one is American. Both work as registered nurse with the same level of education, experience, the job responsibilities. Despite this, the Filipino nurse is paid only, let me say, 5,000 US dollars less per year than the American nurse, not because of their performance, but due to systematic racial biases in pay and promotion practices. Next, limited access to resources. So this could include restricted access to education, training, funding, technology, or information that could enable someone to grow professionally or personally. So without these resources, advancement become much harder. So for example, student is underfunded or student in underfunded schools not having access to computers, internet, or updated textbook, limiting their ability to learn and compete academically. Next, limited access to decision making rules. So, when certain groups are underrepresented in leadership or positions of influence, they have less power to shape policies, allocate resources, or influence organizational culture. So, it means that when some groups of people, such as women or gender diverse individuals, are not included in leadership roles or important decision making positions, they have less ability to influence rules, policies, or how things are run because they are not able to help decide how money or resources should be used. They cannot voice their needs or priorities, and they cannot shape the culture of an organization, community, or government. So, in certain groups are missing from leadership, their perspectives and needs are often ignored, leading to unfair or unequal outcomes. For example, of this is in a high school student council, most leadership position like the president, the treasurer, the club leaders are held by the students from a certain social groups, while students from the minority backgrounds or the lower income families rarely get elected. As a result, their concerns like improving cafeteria options, the mental health supports, or inclusive events are seldom addressed. Next is the God in the Philippines setting. So in the Philippines, JED or GAD means gender and development. It is an approach used by the government and organization to promote gender equality and empower women and other marginalized groups. Instead of focusing only on women, GAD examines the different rules, responsibilities, and needs of all genders. Its goal is to make sure everyone has equal rights, opportunities, and access to resources. So, what is Magna Carta of Women, Republic Act 9710? So, the Magna Carta of Women is a comprehensive women's human rights law in the Philippines. It was passed by the Philippine Congress or the Senate House in May 2009 and it's signed into a law on August 14. Here rights and protections under the law. So here are some of the main rights, protections, and guarantees under the Magna Carta of Women. First, right to non-discrimination in employment. So women must have an equal access to all jobs, including rules and in police, military, and similar services, with the same opportunities for promotion, pay benefits, and awards based on merit. Next one is the protection from violence and gender-based offenses. So the law requires protection of the women from all forms of gender-based violence like physical, sexual, psychological, or economic in private and public life. It mandates creation of mechanisms such as a violence against women's desk in the barangay level for responsive handling of cases. Next, health and reproductive rights. For women entitled to comprehensive gender responsive health services covering life cycle needs, maternal care, pre and postnatal, reproductive health, sexual and reproductive rights, disease prevention and management, and etc. Next, economic rights, decent work, livelihood, land, resources rights, including equal access to land titling, for example, agricultural lands, ancestral lands, and stewardship contracts, equal share of benefits from land or aquatic resources, access to credit or capital, knowledge, technology, livelihood support, and social protection, especially for marginalized women workers in informal economy, migrant women, and indigenous women. Next, right to education and non-discrimination in education. So including elimination of discrimination against pregnant students, faculty, school may not expel or prevent admission due to pregnancy outside marriage. Also ensures equal access to scholarships, training, skills development, including in non-traditional fields. Next, right to housing and social protection. The state is to develop accessible, secure, affordable housing programs for women and ensure social protection policies for women, especially in marginalized or vulnerable sectors. The last one is the right to information, participation, and representation. So women must have access to information about policies and programs affecting them and have representation and participation in policy and decision-making bodies at local, national, and international levels. So who is covered, including marginalized women? So in Republic Act 97110 protects all women, but it also emphasizes social protection and promotion of rights for marginalized sectors. Women who belong to disadvantaged or vulnerable groups such as women in rural areas, example given, small farmers, the fisher folks, women in informal economy, urban poor migrant workers, indigenous women or women with disabilities, solo parents or senior women, etc. Women in situations of crisis, disaster, displacement, armed conflict, and etc. The law requires gender sensitive humanitarian aid, protection for exploitation or violence, and specific interventions of these circumstances. So the implementation of God plans and budget in local and national government. So gender and development or the GOD is a strategy to promote gender equality and empower women in the government. The GOD plan and budget or the GPB is used to make sure that programs, projects, and resources address the needs of both women and men fairly so everyone has equal opportunities and benefits. So here are the key points. So GAD plans are required under Philippine law, the Republic Act 9710, the Magna Carta of Women, Republic Act 7192, the local governance laws, laws like the local government code at national and local levels. The GAD plan is integrated into annual planning and budgeting, and GAD budget is typically at least 5% of the total agency budget. Implementation in national government. First, preparation of agency guideline. Each national government agency prepares an annual GAD plan and budget. The plan should assess gender issues and programs, set gender responsive objectives and activities, allocate budget for GAD activities, for example, activities, the gender training, advocacy campaigns, women's livelihood programs. Next, approval and integration. So GAD plans are committed to the agency's GAD focal point system, and once approved, the GAD budget is incorporated into the agency's overall annual budget proposal. Next, the implementation. So activities are carried out by designated unit, for example, the resource department and the social welfare units. So monitoring by the GFES or the GAD focal point system ensures alignment with the plan. Next one is the monitoring and reporting. So quarterly and annually reports are submitted to the Philippine Commission on Women or the PCW, and reports include financial utilization, activity, accomplishments, and im- implementing in local government units or the LGUs. So LGUs are provinces, cities, municipalities, and barangays. So their GAD implementation is guided by the Local Government Code and Republic Act 9710. So here are the steps. First, local GAD plan preparation. So each LGU prepare annual GAD plan based on the gender situation in the locality. So activities are aligned with local development plans. Next is the budget allocation. So at least 5% of the total local development fund is allocated to GAD programs. Examples, women's livelihood and micro enterprise programs, gender sensitivity trainings for barangay officials, health programs for women and children. Next is the integration and local development planning. So GAD plans are integrated into the local development plan or the LDP and annual investment program or the AIP. Next one is the implementation. So LGU offices like social welfare, help women's desk execute the activities. So community participation is encouraged, particularly women's organization. And the last one is the monitoring and evaluation. So LGU submitted annual accomplishment reports to the PCW. Evaluation includes the use of the budget, number of beneficiaries, impact on gender equality and community. So here is an example table of that implementation. Level, the national and the local. Responsible unit for the national is the GFES an agency, and for the local is the LGU Gender and Development Office. For the activities or programs, national, the gender training awareness campaigns, and for the local, women's livelihood or and also health programs. The budget resources, agency budget from the national, and for the local is the LDF. Monitoring by for the national, the PCW and internal audit, and for the local is the PCW and the LGU Council. So the rule of education and advocacy. So gender sensitivity, promoting gender sensitivity and awareness. So, gender sensitivity refers to the ability to recognize and respond to gender differences, inequalities, and stereotypes in everyday life policies and programs. So, sensitivity is the ability to notice and understand the differences and equalities between genders and to respond to them in a fair and respectful way. So, in other words, it means recognizing when men, women, or gender diverse people are treated unfairly. It means avoiding assumptions or stereotypes like girls aren't good at math or boys shouldn't cry. It applies in daily life, workplaces, schools, policies, and programs, making sure everyone is treated equally and their needs are considered. So, being sensitive is about seeing and addressing gender differences fairly and respect. Strategies to promote gender sensitivity and awareness. First, education and training. To conduct gender sensitivity workshops for schools, workplaces, and communities. You can also integrate gender education into school curricula to teach young people about equality and respect. You can also offer capacity building programs for leaders, policymakers, and development workers to mainstream gender perspective and projects. So it means that education and training help people understand gender differences and treat everyone fairly. Next is the media and communication. You can use social media, TV, radio, and campaigns to challenge stereotypes and highlight stories of gender equality. Develop informational materials like brochures, posters, and videos to raise awareness of gender issues. So by using these different forms of media to educate people, change attitudes, and share stories that show the importance of treating all genders fairly and equally. Next, the policy advocacy. So promote laws and policies that ensure gender equality, for example, anti-discrimination, equal pay, or maternity or paternity leave. Encourage organizations to adopt gender sensitivity practice such as inclusive hiring or leadership policies. So it means pushing for rules and policies like equal pay, anti-discrimination laws, and exclusive or inclusive workplace practices that help men, women, and gender diverse people have the same opportunities and protection. Next, community engagement. So organize community dialogues, focus groups, and forums to discuss traditional gender roles and cultural barriers. You can also encourage men and boys to participate in gender equality initiatives critical for long-term change. By working with communities to raise awareness, change cultural attitudes, and get everyone involved in creating a fair and inclusive environment for all genders. Next, monitoring and evaluation. So assess programs and projects for gender responsiveness, collect data disaggregated by sex to identify disparities and track progress towards equalities. So it only means measuring and reviewing actions to see if men, women, and gender diverse people are benefiting equally and use data to improve policies and programs for fairness. Next, what are the benefits of promoting gender sensitivity and awareness? First, reduce gender discrimination and biases, encourages inclusive decision making in families, workplaces, and governance, empowers women and marginalized groups to claim rights and opportunities, and distribute to sustainable social and economic development. Integrating God in school curricula. So integrating God in school ensures students grow up with awareness, sensitivity, and respect for gender equality. First, curriculum design. So include gender studies for modules in subjects like social studies, health, and civics. Integrate stories, case studies, and examples that highlights gender equality and challenges stereotypes, and teach about laws, rights, and rules that promote gender equality. So, creating educational content that helps students understand gender issues, learn about their rights, and develop respect for all genders. Next is the teacher training. So, provide gender sensitivity training for teachers, equip teachers with tools to identify biases and classroom materials and interactions, and encourage equal participation of all students regardless of their gender. Next is the school activities. So, organize debates, essay competitions, and projects on gender issues. Establish gender sensitivity clubs or peer groups to promote discussion and advocacy, and ensure school policies like uniform sports leadership opportunities are inclusive. So it means using events, clubs, and fair rules to teach students about equality, challenges stereotypes, and give everyone equal opportunities to participate, and lead. And the next one is learning environment. So promote safe and supportive spaces free from harassment and discrimination, and encourage inclusive participation in all activities from sports to leadership roles. Integrating God in community programs. So, community programs can raise awareness and foster participation of all genders in local development. First, awareness campaigns. So, conduct workshops, seminars, and forum on gender rules, rights, and equality. You can also use media campaigns to challenge harmful stereotypes and highlight success stories of women and marginalized groups. So it only means that teaching and informing communities so they understand gender issues, respect everyone's rights, and recognize the achievement of all genders. Next is the capacity building. So train community members to plan, implement, and monitor gender sensitive projects, and also empower women and marginalized groups through skills development and livelihood programs. Policy and participation. So encourage community leadership rules for women and youth, and advocate for local policies that address gender disparities in health, education, and employment. Next is the collaboration and partnerships. So partners with NGOs, government agencies, and civic organizations to support gender-focused initiatives, and also foster community support networks to sustain programs. It only means that joining forces with different groups to create, implement, and maintain programs that ensure for treatment and opportunities for all gender. And the last one is the monitoring and evaluation. So assess programs for gender responsiveness and ensure equal benefits for men and women. And you can also collect gender segregated data to identify gaps in programs. It only means that measuring and reviewing actions to make sure everyone is treated equally, and using data to improve programs and policies for fairness. So that would be all for my report, and thank you everyone for listening.